Proverbs chapter 1, day 1. To know wisdom. We'll begin reading in chapter 1, verse 1. The Proverbs of Solomon, son of David, king of Israel. To know wisdom and instruction, to understand words of insight, to receive instruction in wise dealing, in righteousness, justice, and equity, to give prudence to the simple, knowledge and discretion to the youth. Let the wise hear and increase in learning, and the one who understands obtain guidance. To understand a proverb and a saying, the words of the wise and their riddles. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and instruction. Hear, my son, your father's instruction, and forsake not your mother's teaching. For they are a graceful garland for your head, and pendants for your neck. My son, if sinners entice you, do not consent. If they say, "Come with us, let us lie in wait for blood. Let us ambush the innocent without reason. Like Sheol, let us swallow them alive and whole, like those who go down to the pit. We shall find all precious goods. We shall fill our houses with plunder, and throw in your lot among us. We will all have one purse. My son, do not walk in the way with them. Hold back your foot from their paths, for their feet run to evil, and they make haste to shed blood. For in vain is a net spread in the sight of any bird. But these men lie in wait for their own blood. They set an ambush for their own lives. Such are the ways of everyone who is greedy for unjust gain. It takes away the life of its possessors. Wisdom cries aloud in the streets. In the markets she raises her voice. At the head of the noisy streets she cries out. At the entrance of the city gates she speaks. How long, O simple ones, will you love being simple? How long will scoffers delight in their scoffing, and fools hate knowledge? If you turn at my reproof, behold, I will pour out my spirit to you. I will make my words known to you. Because I have called and you refuse to listen, have stretched out my hand and heeded no one, because you have ignored all my counsel, and would have none of my reproof, I also will laugh at your calamity. I will mock when terror strikes you. When terror strikes you like a storm, and your calamity comes like a whirlwind, when distress and anguish come upon you, then they will call upon me, but I will not answer. They will seek me diligently, but will not find me. Because they hated knowledge and did not choose the fear of the Lord, would have none of my counsel, and despised all my reproof. Therefore they shall eat the fruit of their way, and have their fill of their own devices. For the simple are killed by their turning away, and the complacency of fools destroys them. But whoever listens to me will dwell secure, and will be at ease without dread of disaster. Some thoughts from Proverbs 1 today, and a warning. Science stuff straight ahead. In the makeup of plants and trees, there is a section that is essential to transferring nutrients back and forth called the pith. In trees, it is surrounded by the xylem and phloem and is found in the rings radiating out from the center. In plants, generally speaking, the pith is in the center of the stem. We recognize this as the core of the stem. Okay, science lesson is over for today. Why would I want to know this? Well, good question. Sometimes we borrow scientific jargon and connect the dots to help us to grasp big meanings. The word pith is associated with the core of a plant, and the word core suggests the center or essence of something. If I'm given the task of defining what a proverb is, using the economy of words, I would include such words as wisdom, knowledge, understanding, maxim, short saying, or pithy. That's helpful, but now I need a working definition beyond just a word. I might say, Proverbs are short sayings intended to impart wisdom, or a maxim intended to guide a person into an understanding of a truth. How about a pithy saying used simply so as to express a truth? There, that ought to suffice. Perhaps the word pithy would be a leading candidate to help in understanding what a proverb is. Another way of grasping a concept of a proverb is to give an example. Popular proverbs in our culture have been passed down from generation to generation. Perhaps one of the best-known collectors of proverbs in modern times, though not modern to some, was Benjamin Franklin. His farmer's almanac was sprinkled with wise sayings, like early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise, or well done is better than well said. It may be the best collection ever assembled is that of Solomon in the Old Testament book of Proverbs. Most of this book is attributed to Solomon, with the exception of the end of the book, which are said to be from Agur, chapter 30, and Lemuel, chapter 31. Here's a little of what we know of Solomon's collections from 1 Kings chapter 4, verses 31 through 33. It tells us, "For he was wiser than all other men, wiser than Ethan the Ezrahite, and Heman, Calcol, and Darda, the sons of Mahal, and his fame was in all the surrounding nations. He also spoke 3,000 proverbs, and his songs were 1,005. He spoke of trees, from cedar that is in Lebanon to the hyssop that grows around the wall. He spoke also of beasts and of birds and reptiles and fish." Solomon begins the very core of learning when he says in chapter 1 and verse 2, to know. Interestingly enough, the Hebrew word for this word know is yada. I wouldn't confuse that with our modern yada, yada, yada. But it seems essentially to ascertain by seeing or observation. Of the 3,000 proverbs that Solomon collected, we have but a fraction in the book of Proverbs. But there is certainly enough to whet our appetite. Solomon makes clear the distinction between wise and foolish, as well as wisdom and folly. In our very first chapter, Solomon volleys back and forth telling of the benefits of wisdom and the consequences of enticements of sinners. Both call out to us for the purpose of our following. Yet which we shall follow is entirely up to us. Which we shall love depends on our attitude. Shall we fear the Lord or despise wisdom? Jesus said, "Wisdom is justified by her deeds." Matthew 11:19. Weigh out for yourselves and observe the fruit wisdom bears, over and against the fruit of folly. What kind of fruit have you been bearing in your life? And Lord willing, we'll see you again tomorrow.